Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening. Welcome to UPfront. My name is Raymond Acquah. Tonight, we examine the demands from the three major civil society groups led by the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, CODIO, demanding the immediate resignation of Dr. Peter Apiahinin and Hajia Salima Ahmed Tijani as members of the Electoral Commission. The two, who were recently appointed by President Akufo-Addo to the Electoral Commission, had been described by the NDC as known affiliates of the governing MPP. CODIO, at a news conference earlier today, said these appointments have the tendency to make the EC look partisan and affect the credibility in future elections. Of course, in this conversation, I shall be joined by the spokesperson of the John Mahama campaign, a former Deputy Communications Minister himself, Felix Okwachi-Ofosu, and the national organizer of the governing NPP, Henry Nana Boakye. But first, joining me now to defend the position of civil society will be the representative of the CDD, who was also there at this all-important press conference, Dr. Kojo Pumpuni Asante. Doc, you're welcome to UPfront. Certainly, I shall be bringing in Doc into the conversation, but let me get the reaction of the political parties first. Now, it was your position, as in the case of the NDC, as I bring in the spokesperson of the John Mahama campaign and a former Deputy Communications Minister, Felix Okwachi-Ofosu. This conversation started when you are described as partisan and the people that were appointed in there. Is it to you the right call by the grouping in civil society made up of the Civic Forum Initiative and Star Ghana Foundation, who are demanding that these two be removed or they resign on their own?
Yeah, Raymond, yes, it's a call in the right direction. To be very honest, I was beginning to wonder whether or not as a nation we have become suddenly accepting of clear wrongs and misuse and abuse of executive power. So it came to me as something of a pleasant surprise when I heard CODIO and the other civil society organizations adding their voice to the call for withdrawal of the appointment of these extremely partisan individuals to the Electoral Commission, or for the resignation of the individuals themselves, in order that they conform to principles of public office, to the principles of the Electoral Commission. Now, Raymond, what President Akufo-Addo did in appointing these very partisan MPP fellows to the Electoral Commission represented a new low in shallow partisanship. You know, President Akufo-Addo has done many things in the course of his tenure as president, which defy logic, which are bizarre and completely antithetical to democratic practice. It started with the removal of Charlotte Osei and two other commissioners over what I believe to be frivolous, trammed up, and contrived charges. The idea of their removal was to pave way for the appointment of persons who are sympathetic to the MP, so that they will go there and pursue the interests of the MP. And I have been in no doubt that the lives of Jim Mensah and Bosman Asari are all MPP sympathizers. But at the very least, they had disguised it quite well and had not been so overt and been public about it. Even though those of us who know what exactly they represent and their party colors do know exactly what they represent. But little did I ever think that President Akufo-Addo will go even lower by plucking known, rabid, extremely partisan MPP people to add to the people that he has already appointed, whose conduct has given us cause to believe that they are partisan. So what President Akufo-Addo has effectively done is to make the Electoral Commission an extension of the MPP headquarters. And the only purpose for which he has done this is to ensure that the interest of the MPP is served at every elections that are regulated or moderated by the current Electoral Commission. To the extent that the MPP has an interest in any election, President Akufo-Addo has done this to ensure that that interest is secured. They are not there to ensure the conduct of free, fair, transparent elections. And it is the reason why, Raymond, since the appointment of this particular leadership of the Electoral Commission, every single decision of theirs has met with controversy. Just look at the way that they changed the very register that brought President Akufo-Addo to power in 2020, when there was no just cause to do so. They spent $80 million to do so. Basically wasted $80 million to compile a register over which there was little to no fault. A register that was used to conduct perhaps the cleanest and most transparent elections in Ghana's history in 2016. In addition to that, but for the vigilance of the minority and large sections of the Ghanaian public, they were going to foist on us a process that was going to make it even more difficult for people to register by insisting that only the Ghana card, which many millions of Ghanaians do not have at the moment, becomes the only form of identification for purposes of getting your name onto the voter roll. In addition to this, we have all seen the very hostile stance of the current leadership of the Electoral Commission towards the NDC in particular. The way that they have bastardized and reduced IPAC to nothing more than a rubber stamp, where draconian, unfair, imbalanced decisions are just shoved down the throat of political parties without any consideration. So, but for this intervention by CODIO and the other civil society actors, I was really beginning to wonder whether wrong was suddenly becoming right in our country, and that as a people, we would allow a president to go this far to undermine the independence of a critical state agency like the Electoral Commission, who are key to the maintenance of the peace and security that we enjoy as a people. Because any election that is seen to be flawed is most likely to lead to chaos, and everybody knows this. So the last thing we want is for the umpire, those who are supposed to be referees in this endeavor, to be partisan and act in ways that tilts the balance in the direction of one particular party.
Now, this is a bit of the problem that many have raised with this. There is no fundamental problem being raised about the qualification of these people for the position that we are talking about here, as in the constitutional specific mandate that's given the president. There's no challenge to that, right?
First of all, Raymond, there are 1 million people who can prove the same qualification that these individuals have. So qualification has never been an issue. And they don't hold any exceptional qualifications. There are 1,001 IT experts in this country who hold or perhaps have even more nuance and knowledge about the IT sector than Dr. Appiah Hene. And whatever qualification it says that the lady, who is also now known to be partisan, together with Dr. Appiah Hene, has, that many others do not have. So any number of people could have merited that position. But there's a reason why you don't just pluck somebody from the streets to make him president. A president is supposed to exercise judgment. His judgment and reasoning must be sound. His conduct and actions must be above reproach. So the mere fact that somebody is qualified does not mean that he should merit a position. Perhaps an even more important eligibility criteria or qualification is the neutrality of the individual. So to the extent that the neutrality of the individual can be impugned and be impeached so glaringly, as is the case of Dr. Appiah Hene and the other lady, there was no basis for appointing them to the position that President Akufo-Addo appointed them to. And you see, this is further demonstration of the total disrespect that President Akufo-Addo has for the very people who voted him into office. He does not think that Ghanaians deserve sound judgment from him. He believes that the presidency and the mandate given him have become his birthright. It is a family heirloom, so he can do whatever he pleases with it, no matter how unreasonable, unconscionable, and unfair it is. And perhaps the time has come for we as a people to rise up and tell the president in the face that he cannot misrule in the manner that he is doing, and that he is not allowed, by mere virtue of having executive power, to do things that undermine the independence of our state institutions. Because it is for a reason that the Electoral Commission was clothed with independence. That reason requires that whenever the Electoral Commission conducts elections, it does so from the stance of a neutral arbiter, a referee who does not have a vested interest in the outcome of any particular election. But here we are with a group of people who have a vested interest in the well-being of the MPP, and therefore are in no position to guarantee credibility and fairness and transparency in any election that we hold. Yet, President Akufo-Addo deems it fit to appoint people like that, knowing very well that it makes absolutely no sense, and it violates all cardinal principles of leadership. That really is the difficulty. It is never about whether the people are qualified or not, because like I said, there are a million people who have far more credentials, better qualifications than Dr. Appiah and the lady who has been put on the Electoral Commission as we speak.
Now, I will come back to you on this point because it appears that there is some disagreement. Let me bring in the people who actually put together this statement. And Felix, if you can give me a second, I need to bring in a CDD on this particular matter. A senior programs officer with Kodio, Mausi Jumenu, is the one joining me now. Mausi, you're welcome to our front. I mean, you disagreed with the earlier position many had expressed. In fact, in the statement, there's a clear-cut delineation, which to some extent suggests that you would not accept the claim this is the president's mandate and that the people have absolutely no way of controlling, influencing, or even affecting the elections in their mandate as mere EC members. Why so?
Okay, Raymond, thank you very much. We hold a view that the office of the Electoral Commission, or the commission as a whole, plays a very critical role within our democratic dispensation. And so, I mean, in filling positions for that particular office, it's always important to bear in mind the fact that we need people who are neutral, and there's that semblance of independence with them, because the Electoral Commission itself is a body that embodies, should embody independence, and then should embody neutrality. And so in looking at the kind of appointments that have been made to the Electoral Commission, we think that there's two people that we flagged as people that we think by virtue of their background and then their affiliations, family affiliations and all that, we think that they are not best suited for this position because they violate the principles that I've already outlined, which is independence and then neutrality. And so we think that there's a need to, I mean, really look at this whole issue about they being on the commission. And so that is how come we were making that clarion call that yes, the president made that that appointment, and I think what appointment was done was that it was, you know, basically done on the blind side of everybody, and they've gone ahead to appoint these people, and so it left no room for us as citizens to make any input into how these people were selected in the first place. And that goes back to the whole point about Kodio and its partner CFI and the other civil society organizations, including Star Ghana, that we've been making as far back as 2015 when Mrs. Charlotte Osei was being appointed into office. We had also been pushing for that kind of inclusive and then transparent processes where persons who are appointed in to fill the vacancies on the commission are taken through some form of transparent processes that involves consultation of not just political parties, I mean, from a bipartisan point of view, but consultation of like key stakeholder institutions within the country that represents a clear microcosm of the entire country. And so we think that all these things were missing. And so this particular appointment in itself, whether the Council of State was, you know, that advice was taken from them or not, we have no idea of knowing this. And so the nomination didn't come up for any of us to even raise any questions about any of these appointees. All we saw was that the whole process had been just completed with the swearing in after the swearing in of these appointees. And so that comes back to the whole issue that we've been raising, that there's a need for some reforms to be done around how our electoral commissioners are appointed, because the office of the electoral commission is not like any other office within a country, such as maybe ministerial positions or district chief executive positions, where the president would probably wear his hat as a head of government to appoint these people. And so all these people will serve at his beck and call, at his pleasure. The office of the electoral commission is different.
Forgive me, except that under the very circumstance, Mausi, you didn't just raise concerns about the process. You actually went ahead to say that some of them should not be in the position. In the case of Hajia, for example, you insist that multiple close familial relations with leading and active NPP members raise apparent conflict of interest concerns, and for that matter, a legitimate perception and appearance of a lack of independence. Is that really fair to the woman? You do not think that she can independently be seen in her own capacity and competence as somebody who can do the job, and familiar relations are more important to you?
Raymond, this issue about familiar relations, you know, when it comes to the electoral commission, just like I was trying to make the point that the electoral commission is not any other public office that we can just treat anyhow and then put anybody in there with any semblance of any partisan political affiliation. I mean, with all due respect, we know that she's an individual, yes. But the point we are trying to make is that this is a particular office where any semblance of any partisanship by any member of the commission or even workers of the electoral commission has a whole effect of tarnishing the image of the commission and, you know, dealing effective blow to the integrity of the electoral commission. And so that is the point and the angle that we're coming from.
Are you sure we can get anybody in this country without any form of relations with anybody?
The point is that we are looking at it in terms of the conflict of interest around this. And then we think that that kind of reflection, it's not going to help with the public perception about the electoral commission. If you check from...
And in fairness, by conflict, you mean the appearance of conflict of interest, not real conflict of interest, because...
2004 to 2022, you realize that the trust in the electoral commission had dipped. As far back as 2004, it was about 40%.
But that has nothing to do with the new appointments, right?
People who are saying that they trust in the electoral commission a lot is now roughly about 10% as of the last count in our 2022 survey that we did. And so we think that going forward into the next year and all that, perceptions really do matter. And so sometimes, at some point in time, the issue about perceptions and then reality tend to equate. And so we think that if you would want to just suggest that, oh, okay, it doesn't matter because you think that we've not really found any live connection to what she has done or what she has done herself as an individual, but then we cannot really talk about her familiar relations, then you are getting the whole point wrong.
I get your point, but I need you to hold on a second for me. I will come back to you, Mausi. I need to bring in the NPP and the NDC, who are really participants in this election, direct stakeholders in this election. I've been joined by the national organizer.
We are also stakeholders in this election.
I agree perfectly with you. I beg of you to allow me bring in the other parties.
This whole electoral process. I mean, on behalf of, the people of Ghana as well.
I get you 100%. And it's the more reason why you're on the show. We surely should be able to bring in the other people to join us. Henry Nanabuache, the accusation is that the president's appointment, he looked in the face and he was pretty not sure whether this was really quite consultative, because the people he settled on are downright partisan people who can affect the credibility of the Electoral Commission. Credibility of the Electoral Commission, whose perception of its prudence has been waning over a period of time. Is it something you support, the call for them to resign honorably?
Thank you very much. I think this is pure speculation, and for me, it's just naked, conjecturing. I have spoken on this matter before, and I've said, in fact, the first accusation or allegation they made, especially with the gentleman referred to as Dr. Appiaje, is that he is a TESCON patron. And in fact, I even spoke on your network, I think it was Joy TV, and I said that I have been national youth organizer for 4 years before I became national organizer. Issues of second patron is firmly within my remit and is under my jurisdiction as a national youth organizer then. And I have a list of all TESCON patrons. And again, I was also in custody of all TESCON institutions. The third gentleman was never a TESCON patron. You recall that similar accusation at a point when Dr. Bosman Asare was also appointed. He also faced similar allegations. And I said, yes, University of Ghana is a big institution. And again, I was actively involved when Samuel Ogu was national youth organizer, and I became national youth organizer. Dr. Bosman Asare in fact, I don't even know him. I have not even set eyes on him before. But some people repeatedly wanted to peddle this falsehood, propagate this propaganda, to let it look as if it's the truth. And for me, I find this press conference very unfortunate. The most important thing is that, is there anything illegal about the appointment? The answer is no. Look, you recall that there was this appointment made by the former president, John Dramani Mahama, by in fact,
so it appears to have a bad line to you. Yes, I think it's getting better now.
Yeah, I'm saying that you recall that one of the ladies who vacated her position was Hajia Saida Adesmeda. Her father was a former NDC regional chairman in the northern region. But she just finished with her work, and I'm not sure that I've had any cause to complain about her work, and I'm not sure. I am of the firm belief that she discharged her duties remarkably well. So this issue about perception, I thought that this thing was, a closed docket, and then we have to move on. The said Dr. Appiagyei is not an MPP member. The said Dr. Appiagyei is not an MPP or a TESCON patron. It is mere speculation, naked conjecture.
Was he being considered for a regional minister position?
I saw a certain poster. He himself has said that he never put himself up for such a position. And we know how regional ministers are appointed. It's not as if you go to apply. We don't have the forms deposited somewhere where you go pick a form and apply to be regional minister.
Has he ever represented?
It's a prerogative of the president to appoint regional ministers. So if you see a poster, and I was surprised that I saw as part of the particulars supporting the claim that Dr. Appiagyei is an MPP, that they saw an artwork on social media, and that artwork purported to be persons who have put themselves up to be regional ministers for Bono region. And I was surprised that how can you hold such a press conference and you use such a material as an evidence?
Now, the other question is related to his appearance on a radio program, Anopa Nimdie Eja, so on Nimdie FM in 95.1 in Sunyani, as a self-identified NPP partisan activist.
It is not true. It was never a political show. It was never a partisan. It was a social program. I have also investigated.
Was he representing the MPP then?
He was not representing the MPP. He has never been part. I've spoken to the regional communications apparatus in the region. He's never been part of the communications team in the Bono region.
Now, did he name as
a lecturer? I'm coming.
Did he
He's
name?
only known as a lecturer, and I'm told that there have been times where he has appeared on radio programs as a social commentator.
Not for the MPP.
He has never represented the party. He is never part of our communications apparatus in the region.
Is he heard in the video saying Abronya is his chairman?
Have you yourself seen that video?
I have.
And you heard him say what? Abronya is his chairman.
The question I'm asking is whether he...
No, Raymond Acquah is the regional chairman for Bono region.
Yes, but not for the entire Bono region. It's for the NPP in the Bono region.
No,
so if he makes an allusion to that, he is referencing a section of the grouping.
National organizer of the New Patriotic Party. He is not a member of the New Patriotic Party. He has never been a patron of TESCON. He has never been part of MPP's communications team. He has never represented us on any platform.
Nanabi, if anybody goes on a platform and says, because of free SHS, women dress better to church, does it sound to you like he's been a bit partisan?
No, I don't get the analogy. Because of what?
I'm saying if anybody goes on radio and says, because of free SHS, women dress better to church, is he being partisan?
Well, I don't know whether this is part of our conversation.
No, it's actually heard on the tape. The tape they are making reference to. He's heard on the tape saying that. That's what I want to clarify from you.
That what?
That, to your understanding, if anybody goes on a radio program and says that women now dress better to church because MPP brought in free SHS, is that partisan to you? Is that an independent thought?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Yes, the person can make an independent comment. That is the person's view, and that view cannot be construed as a partisan comment. I don't think so.
The NDC believes that all of this is a machination to rig elections for...
No, but that is why I am saying that the lady who just vacated her position, she is the daughter of the former NDC regional chairman. She was appointed by the former president, Mr. Mahama. Did anybody cough?
Now, let me ask Felix that question.
You know what? It would be very unfair that somebody would be charged, especially an adult, would be charged by a certain... And moving to the second person, I'm told that the other lady, because of her affiliation to persons who are connected to the New Patriotic Party, because of that, they have raised a red flag. I'm surprised. How? So the lady cannot be seen as an independent person, somebody who has that credibility to hold such an office. And the person must be linked to persons who have connections to the MPP. I think this is very unfortunate.
Now, let me bring in Felix, and forgive me for keeping you on for quite a while. Mr. Fosikwache, the argument being raised by the MPP is that this is much ado about nothing, and the CSOs got it wrong. If you can hear me, Felix. Well, if I'm unable to get him to actually comment on this one, I think I still have on Zoom Mausi Jumenu. It appears that it's your work that's been postponed by the NPP here. They do not believe that a very good job was done. Yes, Mausi. If you can unmute, yes, I'll be very glad. Yes. I want a reaction to what Nanabi has been saying about the kind of work you did.
Okay, so we have done a very solid job by looking at these issues. And as far as we are concerned, in our statement, I want to make this disclaimer that we never said Dr. Pia Hene is a patron of the TESCON, and that we made references to the videos that surfaced online where he was enigmatically defending and speaking as an activist or as somebody who is affiliated to the NPP on several issues in there. And so those are the things that we raised about him. And all these things come back to the issue about the fact that what we saw in the past was that when the president was making any appointments, he would, actually come and then give us a rundown of the background of any of the persons that he was appointing. But in this particular case, we had little to no information about the backgrounds of these people. And so that left us to go around online and then check on the LinkedIn profile of Dr. Pia Hene. And so that also fed into how we came by, I mean, our profiling of him in our statement that we did. And so those are the things that we are making the point about that. For instance, if this opportunity, this appointment, that broad consultation had been allowed into the process, when, assuming that the advice of the Council of State had been sought, and maybe it had been opened up for some public, public input to be made into the process, it would have generated a lot in terms of what people would say about each of the candidates or each of the nominees, and that would have, improved the processes. And so that is the kind of angle that we are also raising with this statement that we are making, that we shouldn't only look at these appointments today and just leave it as it is now, but we should look at what's going to happen in the future. Because at some point in time, what if another political party comes in and then they also want to, because there's a precedent that is being set and would leave room for maybe any other political party that may come in the future to probably toe the same line and then bring in people who they feel are affiliated, that strong party affiliation that is seen by everybody.
So you insist that
be appointed into the office. And so we think that that issue that Nana Boakye was raising, I mean, that is not what we said in our statement, and I want to correct that. I want to correct that strongly.
Okay, yeah.
That we never talked about he being a TESCOM patron. Yes, that's one thing I've clarified here. And so we think that we lack the information about practically all the candidates until they were appointed and then sworn into office, which happened on the blind side of practically, every Ghanaian and society organizations.
Would it have been more appropriate? Would it have been more appropriate if you sought for that information before coming out boldly on this particular left? Would it have been more appropriate?
That is what we've done. That is what we've done. So
but you're also demanding their resignation, right?
Yes, we think that they being, they accepting this position and going ahead to say they are electoral commissioners to do this work. We believe that it will not inure to the benefit of the country in the long run. Because we made a point about the dwindling trust levels or trust ratings that I just had blackouts in my area. Trust levels that citizens have in the Electoral Commission, which has been implementing for some time now. And so we think that this add-on appointment that has been made on the commission is likely to, get this worsened further. And so we think that perceptions really matter in this, in how Electoral Commission.
That's a point.
In the integrity of the Electoral Commission, one, and in the integrity and how people see each of the commissioners and even the staff of the commission. It really matters in terms of how the public see them. And so if you think that there's that slight affiliation from anybody who is, somebody affiliated to any political party in any way, we think that it would affect the integrity of the elections. And
I get you. I mean, forgive me, I'm not interrupting you. I just feel that we can get you to fix this point to do with the power. And if we get a better light into your end, we should also be able to get you to contribute to this conversation. Mausi Dumenu is a senior programs officer with the CODIO, the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers. Let me bring in Felix Kwachifosu to the conversation. It was the contestation of Nana Boakye that Mrs. Hajia Sadatu Maida, who has just left office, who's rarely being replaced, was herself the daughter of an NDC person in the northern region. So merely having familiar relations with anybody does not stop you from doing your job. That's to do with the second person that's been appointed. Do you should insist that these are partisan people with an agenda?
What about the first person? Why has he conveniently skipped Dr. Appiah Henry?
Okay, he also says that he's neither MPP, he has a record of the party, he's not a member of the party, he has not been any TESCON, whatever title patron, also they give them, and that when he appeared on the show, he appeared as, yes.
Raymond, there are videos, audios of the gentleman in question sitting in radio and television stations defending the Akufo-Addo Bawumia administration and speaking on behalf of the party.
He says he did it in his capacity as a social commentator.
It is not true. There are videos and pictures of the gentleman sitting at an MPP event with full branding in MPP colors. So he should not patronize us. You see, that is the difficulty that many people have with the MPP. They are pensioned for life, even in the face of obvious truth. The gentleman has gone to sing the praises of President Akufo-Addo as an MPP panelist. There are members of the NDC who have engaged that gentleman in a studio in which he was speaking on behalf of the MPP. Indeed, only today, our Bono, Regional Communications Directorate held a press conference to catalog instances of representation by Dr. Appiah Hene of the MPP. So Nana B should not should not rub salt in an injury, even as you complain about the partisanship that has attended these appointments. He should man up and own Dr. Appiah Hene, as we all know, to be an MPP person. And President Akufo-Addo had every intention of skewing the work of the Electoral Commission in favor of the MPP when he made these appointments. So it is bad enough that they disrespect us and make these appointments. But it is even worse for them to come and deny what is obvious. The evidence is simply too glaring. Indeed, the last time I was on your Newsfile program, your colleague, something like that, he played some of the videos and audios. And when you listen to them, you don't need a soothsayer to tell you that this person is MPP. So what was he doing on a TESCOM platform if he was not MPP? How come that when the names of persons to be appointed as Bono regional minister came up, he was included? Does President Akufo-Addo ever have a record of appointing anybody outside of the MPP into any serious position? That has political implications. So please, they should stop wasting our years with such pedestrian explanations. They make absolutely no sense. You see, what is at stake is the serious business of conducting elections in a free, fair, and transparent manner. And if the MPP does not have any excuses to give, they should simply stop these petty explanations. They simply do not make sense. I'm sure that all your viewers and listeners who have tuned in now are seething with rage over the explanations that Anabi has offered. Because what he is seeking to do is to say that Ghanaians do not have the capacity to reason, that when we see white, we should say it is black. Dr. Appiah Hene himself would admit that he is MPP, unless, of course, he is also afflicted by the bout of dishonesty and untruth. But it is beyond debate that the man is MPP. And President Akufo-Addo has made his appointment deliberately with a view to giving the MPP undue, unfair, and unjust advantage in the 2024 election. That is what it is about.
This is despite the fact that he had specifically told them to do their work independent of partisan control and make sure that they are effective in the performance of the role, no matter whose ox is God.
What else would you have expected the president to say? Except that the president has a habit of saying things he does not mean and meaning things he does not say. We have been in this country. He has done the exact opposite of everything that he has said. So don't be taken in by the rhetoric that he spewed at that event. He knew exactly what he was doing. How do you appoint partisan people and then urge them to be independent? Exactly where is the independence supposed to come from? If the president was minded to make the EC independent, he will not appoint partisan people. But you go and appoint rabidly partisan people, and then you engage in rhetoric that they should be independent, that those who count do not matter. So if those who count do not matter, why do we have an electoral commission? Why should it be counted? Then when we vote, should the results not be declared by the voters? There's a reason why there's supposed to be an umpire, a referee, and that referee must be independent enough to want to do what is right, not what inures to the benefit of a particular party in the contest. That is exactly what we are saying. And what President Akufo-Addo has done debases all standards of public office. He simply does not care about the independence of these institutions. And it is the same thing that he has done with our judiciary. He has packed it with MPP chieftains and partisans. And the objective of that is to ensure that for as long as the MPP has an interest in any case, they win, whether there is merit in the case they presented or not. That is what it is about. And I'm not prepared for any what do you call it?
I need to bring in Nanabi into this conversation. Just give me a second. Let me get a reaction from him so that it's fair to him. Nanabi, do you have a response to the very comments that Felix gave right now?
Yes. I mean, where Felix ended, that President Akufo-Addo has packed the judiciary with MPP, parachiefs, and then chieftains. Very unfortunate comment. You recall that Justice Kobia, Justice Appel, Justice Afre, they were all appointees of the people, after which they were appointed justices of the Supreme Court from Judicature. Justice Boone and Bwedi, now High Court. He was an NDC MP. And he was appointed by, may his soul rest in peace, former President Nelson, as a High Court judge. So sometimes, I don't know the terms with which the NDC and especially my brother Felix would want to speak from. You see, when you brought in the issue of Alhaji Maide's daughter, whose position just got vacant, and necessitated the appointment of some other persons by the president, he was mute on that. Look, the fact is that you cannot forcefully put on Dr. Apiahene an MPP attack. I am a national organizer. I've been national youth organizer. He is not NPP. So you cannot be singing such a chorus, which is false, and then make it look like it's true. It is not. He has never been part of our communications apparatus. He has never represented the party on any. He has always gone on radio programs on his own. And the fact that the NDC's communications system in the Bono region had a press conference and then put out a lot of falsehood on which Felix would also want to use, does not make the person an MPP person. He is not an MPP person. You see, Mausi was also moving away from the fact that initially when he was appointed, that was just this whole social media thing. And some of his people who were interviewed from the beginning said that he was an MPP patron. And when I boldly mentioned that he has never been a patron and he was never part of our list, then they moved away from that. And then they wanted to dwell on the fact that he speaks like an MPP person. That is the manner in which they want to cloak the whole matter, that he speaks like an MPP person. He appears to be a fanatic of MPP. So for that matter, he's MPP. He is not an MPP member. He has never been an MPP member. He is never a TESCON patron. He has never been a communicator for the party. He has never been part of the communications team. He has never represented the party on any platform. Yes, from my check, he's a very vocal person. He goes on radio. He goes there as a social commentator. So we should not try so hard. And all of these actions, I would excuse that of the civil society organizations. But then all of these actions from the NDC is an agenda to smear the EC right from the onset. And that is a platform they want to create. They want to just have a very fertile ground to say that the EC did the poor work when they lose the elections in 2024. And
now,
that is exactly what they have started.
Now, let me just ask you this simple question.
I'm coming. That is why I brought it. Let me just repeat this. That is why I said that when Dr. Bosman Asari was appointed, similar cry was heard in this country from the NDC. Similar.
I mean, in all fairness, let me make the point here. Forgive me, but if you knew that the NDC had the intention of actually disputing the election in the next year, why would you make an appointment that signals or sends the appearance of some people that they will complain about? Why don't you take advantage of that? And I'm just hearing from Kodio that there is enough evidence in the Afrobarometer that trust in the EC is even waning. Why would you appoint people who have some problems, doubtful in the minds of people? Why are you not interested in appointing people that would increase the trust of the EC rather?
Raymond, I don't see anything wrong with this appointment. Look, even if you go and appoint an angel to be a member of the Electoral Committee, the NDC will complain. And the NDC will continue to make noise. And don't forget, the NDC and its teaming supporters, if they begin to make noise and then you conduct a research, you don't think that the credibility or the confidence people have in the EC will dwindle? It will. I mean, prior to the 2020 elections, they had series of demonstrations, all targeted at discrediting the Electoral Commission. Why? All in the name of trying to prevent the Electoral Commission from conducting mass registration. So they started this mass demonstration. So if the NDC has an opposition party should demonstrate. You don't think that that would dwindle the confidence people have in the EC? Because don't forget that the NDC members are also Ghanaian. So,
in fairness, the reference that is being made dates back to 2004, where it was 48%, till it got to 2017, where it reduced to 25%. Then in 2019, it became 21%. And now the survey that's being referenced by Kodio puts the trust in the EC dropping to an all-time low of 10%. You can't make this stuff up, can you?
No, that is what I'm trying to say, that it is all part. This whole cry, this whole issue is part of it. When you have a main opposition party demonstrating against the EC, clearly, if you conduct any research, you have people say that they don't have confidence in the EC.
Would you be fair to the intelligence of the people if you say that it's merely because they are listening to what the NDC is saying?
No, it's the NDC members, not, independent-minded people listening to what the NDC is saying.
Oh, so the NDC members were the respondents.
Exactly, but they are part of the people who also, clearly, whoever will conduct this research would also appear before any NDC member, and then will get their responses. So if you have some of these reports coming in, then it is because of that agenda. But as I'm saying, Raymond.
But would that not be a rather strange understanding of how some of this research work is done?
Oh, no, but that is what I'm trying to say. We are in this country when they staged a lot of demonstrations targeted at discrediting the Electoral Commission. Mm-hmm. And the same thing, in fact, when Felix was talking, he mentioned that, and another Dangwa Akufo-Addo has passed the judiciary. He has forgotten that under the NDC, they also made certain appointments. So would it be fair to say that when Professor Mills made appointments and when former President Mama also made appointments, those appointments are tainted? And then we will say that they are also NDC apparatchiks. I think it was an unfair question. And that is what they have sought to do.
Is that, as a lawyer, an inherent admission that indeed the court has been packed with partisan people?
How has it been packed? How? Responsible persons, learned persons, people who have gone through the mill, people who qualify, they have been appointed. They've gone through the processes. And Felix just sits there and says that they are just MPP apparatchiks. How can anybody allude to such a fact? That is why I'm saying that the NDC have also been in power before. They have made similar appointments. Will it be fair to say that all the people that they appointed, they are just followers of the NDC? It is unfair.
Gentlemen, I'm taking final words from you. Let me start with Felix. The insistence on Kodio is that going forward, these appointments should be more transparent. There should be broader consultation on it so that we can all be on the same page on it. Do you agree, Felix, first?
That's why it goes to that mention. It is basic. I said that President Akufo-Addo won't respect that. He will throw it away and pack the EC with partisan people. You see, Nana B is simply looking at truth and telling on truth. Look, Dr. Apiahene, on 18th November 2021, appeared on a station called Nimdia 95.1 FM in Sunyani, on a morning show called Nimdia in the Morning. You see, they say nothing convicts a man faster than his own words. He categorically said that he was thankful to the MPP Regional Communications Officer or Director for always giving him the opportunity to represent the party. These are the man's own words. So what is Nanabi talking about? I can give you 3 or 4 further instances of the man's own words that convict him as an MPP person. So Nanabi should stop belittling the intelligence of your viewers. Why? So what was he doing at the TESCOM platform in full MPP regalia? What was he doing that it was not MPP? Can a neutral person go and sit at a TESCOM high table in MPP regalia? Those pictures have been shown. So why is Nanabi denying the obvious? President Akufo-Addo has put a rabid MPP person on the Electoral Commission, full stop, which should not be the case. President Mama, President Mills, President Rollins never, or even President Kufuor, never put rabid NDC persons on the Electoral Commission. President Akufo-Addo has done the unthinkable, the very worst that we've had, by packing the EC with MPP partisans. Look, we know that Jimensa, Bosman Asare, this gentleman and the lady are MPP partisans. We know it for a fact. So the attempt to deny what is obvious is a bit amusing, and I'm sure that your viewers and listeners are finding it very funny what Anabi is up to. But as for the fact that the EC must be independent and that the appointment of persons to the EC must be done on the basis of consultation, it cannot be disputed. That is what any reasonable president exercising sound judgment would do, as was the case for all of President Akufo-Addo's predecessors. But not him. He believes that all state institutions must be subjected to the control of the MPP. Otherwise, they should not exist. And it is that policy that he's implementing. That really is the truth. This back and forth that Nanabi is engaged in trying to deny what is obvious is simply not funny. People are finding it very amusing. We all know what President Akufo-Addo has done. That as far as he is concerned, every organization must be partisan to serve the ends of the NPP for that organization to be deemed fit to operate. That is all that there is. And that is exactly what he has done with this particular appointment. But who would have thought that any day will come in Ghana where a president will find it necessary to appoint openly rabid NPP people to such position? But President Akufo-Addo has done it.
You appear to support the call for their resignation.
Absolutely. If they had any honor, they wouldn't even accept that position. To begin with, the president should never have made the appointment. He should never have done it. But if the lady and gentleman in question had any self-respect and honor, they won't accept it. They will choose to remain with the MPP. There's nothing wrong with being a member of the MPP. They are a political organization. Anybody is entitled to join them. But when you are being appointed to a position where neutrality is required, and you know deep down your heart that you are MPP, you don't accept it. Show a bit of honor. That is what this is about. So Kodio is right, and I'm on all fours with them when they insist that the individuals in question should withdraw from the appointment, or the president should withdraw the appointment. That is the right thing to do, if there was any honor in all of this.
If this call is not here, what next?
Well, there's nothing we can do, but we will not stop pointing out that they are partisan. And as we have indicated, we are going to be especially vigilant in the election that is going to be held in 2024. So if President Akufo-Addo thinks that by merely appointing these people, we in the NDC are going to sit down for them to rig elections in Ghana, then he is grossly mistaken. We will give them a showdown in 2024.
Felix, I'm grateful to you. And the final word goes to you, Nana B. I mean, at some point, if this is what is required for them to actually have a peaceful election, do you think they should be withdrawn or they should resign? Okay, well, it appears I've actually lost Nana B too, but I'll take final words from Kodio. I mean, it's been back and forth on this. If they do not heed the calls, are you convinced that we are going to have an election that is credible the next year? That's 2024. Yes, Mouse, if you can hear me, can mute. Yes,
hello, Raymond, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. I wanted to know whether you think if the government, if the people appointed do not heed the calls, are we going to have credible elections the next year?
Well, I think our point has been very clear. I mean, we don't really know how the elections are going to check out, but these are credible warning signs that we are sounding now. That these people need to, take a back seat, and thank the president for, giving them this opportunity, and try and pull back from this, because we think that the trust ratings that we've already talked about is very, very low. And that can even implement even further. And so we think that going into the elections, there's a bit of time for us to try and address some of these issues. And that includes people like these people that have been appointed that we are speaking about to, look at the dangers that they being in that particular office are likely to portend. And so we don't really know what can happen. Anything is possible. Anything is possible. But the issue is that perceptions really matter. It really, really matters, especially for that office that they are occupying, the Electoral Commission. And so we think that it will be best for them to try and step aside for the interest of the country, for the interest of our democracy that we've built up to this point. We need to safeguard it. And then by safeguarding it, it requires that effort on their part as individuals to step back, resign from that position. And so we also want to encourage, all well-meaning Ghanaians to also throw our support behind this particular call, and as we all work collectively to address some of these issues, we believe that there's a bit of not so much time anyway, but there's a bit of time to try and correct some of these issues. And so we believe that if all well-meaning Ghanaians speak to these issues and then they rally the call and then mount pressure, we believe that it can probably make some difference for these people to step down. And I believe you, if these people are to step down right now, I'm sure it might have a telling effect on the level of trust or confidence that people would likely repose in the Electoral Commission. Fine. Of course, we need to prove that empirically anyway. And so we also want to use this opportunity to also make that clarion call
I get you. I get your point. Unfortunately, Mausi, forgive me, but my time is up.
Around how we are.
And I cannot actually let you finish the point, even though I wish I could, because I don't have any time left on the show yet. But many thanks to you also out there for joining today's edition of Upfront. This has been a very wonderful thought from you, all the people who joined this conversation. Thank you so much for joining us on this one.